So he'll be uninsurable with those guys. See, Banner knows they're not going to have to pay out. That's why they're cheaper, right? But they're only $3 cheaper. See, even if somebody is cheaper, it's like a couple bucks. It's not very much if they are. People that say, oh, you guys are way higher, you're comparing like a 10-year with a 30-year term. Okay? So you guys see that as you go out there. So if you see one that just doesn't look right, say, can I borrow your policy because something just doesn't look right to me, and bring it in, and we'll show you. Okay? If you're newer and you're not, we'll show you. Damon?
With that increasing benefit rider, does that, like that goes into force like in the second or third year, right?
First year.
First year, after the first year. Okay, so like, say that kicks in, do they have the option of stopping that?
Yeah, they can stop at the first year if they want to, and it'll just stay level. Primerica sends them a letter.
I mean, the 5th year, 3rd year.
Yeah, they can stop at any time. But if they stop it, to add it back on, that's prove health again. They're proven insurability.
So they can start, okay.
As long as they're healthy, they can start it again.
Yeah, because I have.
But they have to answer the letter.
They have to answer the letter, it'll automatically do it.
Right.
You know, and most people do it, and most people like it. I had a guy call me the other day, he goes, I love how your policy increases each year. I'm so glad, because he has more coverage. One of our old agents did it like 5 years ago. And he goes, it's the coolest thing in the world, there's no other policy like yours. He was just calling to check on his policy. Hey, will you tell me what I got? I kind of have an idea it's going up every year, and I told him. And he goes, that is awesome. He goes, thank goodness, because I would have never taken the time to go get other insurance. At the time, I couldn't afford more, but now I've got more. And he was excited about it. So Jen Higby, come up and talk to us now about the basics of investing and help people have enough money so if they live too long, they can survive.
Alright, and I'm going to use this method.
Maybe you should talk about the market too.
Okay.
Well, let me explain.
Alright.
I'll do it here too. Okay, so my mom, I told my mom today, she goes, what do you think about the market? Because it dropped like 350 points, the Dow dropped 350 points yesterday, right? And I go, hey, it might drop another 350, I don't know, right? Because the Fed's pulling back, thank goodness. Those guys need to get the heck out of our way. The Fed needs to get out of the way. If the market crashes a couple thousand to do that, so be it. They need to get out of the way. They're screwing it up. So I'm glad that I'm excited. I go, Mom, I'm so pumped up they're getting out of there. Because we're the American people, we'll get this sucker back on track. But I said, look, Mom, I said, the economy is still very healthy and growing. And the economy, by the way, is always growing as long as we keep having kids. The only way it's going to stop growing is if we stop having kids. So when somebody says, what if I lose all my money in the market? Well, it ain't going to happen until that day comes, right? And so it ain't going to happen. So because we keep having kids, it's going to keep growing. More and more money is going to keep popping in because companies are going to keep growing, making more goods. And as long as the population grows, people need food. They need all the goods, all the cars, yeah, all that stuff, right? And that's so anyway. So you need to be confident that long term people are going to be better off investing in the market than in some bank account. So, all right.
Okay. No, you're good. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to kind of just go through the Back to the Basics brochure, which I like the one that Invesco did, but the other one, just for a second, the Basics of Investing, the same concepts are in this one too. This one you just have to buy though from the company. I think it's like 15 or 20 cents. But you have to buy that one. The one from Invesco, once your securities license, they give you them free. So that's mine. I'm all about that. So. Okay, so but that's why I'm using this. The concepts will be similar. And just really quickly, I think it's really critical that when we sit down with a client, we really talked about most people. Would you agree that most people, are they in debt or are they out of debt? Most
in
people.
debt.
Totally in debt, right? So we've got to. I love the fact that Primerica takes that on. Most of these other financial services companies don't deal with that issue. They just want to sell them something, right? We're going to teach them how to get out of debt. So it's important. I think we talk about the importance of getting out of debt, and we talk about in this brochure about how everybody's in a debt cycle. Someone gets out of high school, they buy a car, they're in debt, and they never get out of debt. Okay, we can break that though by helping them control their finances, paying with cash instead of borrowing, investments and savings set aside, being debt free. But there are a couple steps required to do that. Right? I love the simplicity of Primerica and of what we teach. Step one is to pay yourself first. That's kind of a novel concept to people, huh? That are paying themselves first. Because if we're doing that, and we're going to teach them how to set up these 3 fundamental accounts, okay? But if they can just commit to that one thing, because I always ask, because that's kind of a big deal, people who have not been in the habit of saving, it's revolutionary to have them start saving. right? I mean, that's a big deal. And I asked the question, does anyone else care about your financial future more than you do? No. If you don't start saving, who's going to do that for you? It's not going to happen. Can you see that? I mean, for the last 15 years, you've probably been saying, I'll start saving when I have my first baby paid off, when I get the kids out of college, when I, you know, when we grow up, when we get a real job, right? Isn't that kind of how, have you been doing that for the last, and I try and identify some of those habits or patterns they might have been saying. I'll start saving when, right? Have we all not done that? They can identify that. So when's that going to actually change for you? When? Okay, you got to pay yourself first. And you got to just draw a line in the sand. If you don't start taking care of your family's financial future, nobody else will. So step one is going to be set up the 3 fundamental accounts. Step 2, of course, eliminating the debt. Today I'm going to just focus on that first part, the 3 fundamental accounts, and kind of how the basics of the investing part. So step 1, pay yourself first. These 3 fundamental accounts, I love the simplicity again. Say someone has $2,000 a month coming in for their income. Okay, we teach that the most important account to set up first would be an emergency account to take care of if he loses his job, if whatever, right? If they have $2,000 a month coming in for income, then they need to have at least 3 months set aside for their emergency fund. Or in other words, $6,000 is the goal for that account. We suggest a money market account for that. It's very liquid. It doesn't have a really great rate of return, 0 to 3%, right? But it's money they can put their hands on. When something happens, something goes south, they can get to it. So possible goal, 3 months of income, possible time frame 0 to 2 years. All right, also we need to set up a short-term account. The goal here would be up to 6 months of their income, or in other words, $12,000 in the scenario I gave you. This would be for loss of a job, disability, short-term purchases like a car. Wouldn't that be powerful if someone actually followed what we preach and had $12,000 sitting around and their car goes kaput? They can walk in there with either a really nice down payment or actually buy a car with cash. Getting out of that dang debt cycle, right? The third account, of course, is the wealth building account, and that's where, am I in the way of like everybody? I'll kneel, shall I? I'll do this. The wealth building account, of course, that's the FIN number. You know, so what's the goal here? Well, you can look on their financial independent or their F&A, and it's probably $2.5 million. You know, 1.5, whatever that is. That's the goal dollar amount in this third account. Now, I like how we show people, and it's just so great to have a what's the word I'm looking for? Come on, to have a program, to have an idea with what to do with the money. Have you guys ever, yeah, have you guys ever, like, maybe had a tax return come back or something, like, oh, what should we do with this money? Should we invest it? Should we save it? Should we pay off debt with it? Have you guys ever had that conversation between you and your husband or wife, right? Well, this is exactly what you do, right? This is how you do it. This is the answer to that question, okay? For the money that you have available to save, with those 3 accounts in mind, we recommend that 50% go into the emergency fund, 25% is going to go short term, and 25% into the wealth building account. Now, the cool thing is eventually they're going to hit that emergency fund goal. Say they had $500 a month, we've helped them free up, or they have committed an availability of $500 a month for saving. Okay? So obviously we put $250 here, $125 and $125. Okay? Eventually, though, they're going to hit that goal of having the $6,000 in their emergency fund. They're going to hit that if they consistently keep saving. And as soon as that happens, then we say, okay, you don't need to save in that area anymore. Let's take that $250 that was going into the emergency fund and we'll allocate it to the other 2 accounts. Okay? Oops, now we have to buy new tires. You know, something happened. We have to dip into our emergency fund. Okay, great. So you use the money, and then you go back to that program. You go back to, you start back to the 50, you know, until that's replenished again. Kind of cool to have a game plan, to have an idea, to have a plan, right? Okay, I just want to kind of quickly hit on dollar cost averaging. Is there any questions on any of that with the 3 fundamental accounts or anything for anybody? It's pretty simple stuff, huh? Main thing, you just got to really teach our clients the critical nature. If they don't start saving for that, if they don't pay themselves first, nobody else is going to do that.
Jen, one thing, I mean, it's so simple because we only use like a couple different funds.
Want me to talk about the funds we might suggest? Okay, awesome, yeah. Okay, so in the 50% of the emergency account, again, I mentioned let's set up a money market account for that, whether it be through Lake Mason Invest, I like Invesco. But a money market account, again, the rate of return is going to be nominal, 0, 2%, whatever, very liquid. The short-term account, we do recommend the Invesco Equity and Income Fund is a wonderful choice for that fund, which once your securities licensed, I mean, you don't talk about the specific funds until your securities licensed, that's important. But once you have your securities license, the reason we recommend that fund is because of the historical rate of return. It's done over 10, that's like 10.33 it's done over the last 30 years. On a fund that is 50% bonds, 50% stock. That's flipping awesome. So instead of having the high peaks and valleys that a typical mutual fund might experience, or an aggressive growth mutual fund will have, this is going to have like more of a even keel to it. It's going to see some ebb and flow, but it's not going to have the stark highs and the stark lows. Does that make sense?